Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Oliver Hazard Perry Construction Series. Today, I'm going to be talking about painting. And I know what you're thinking. Painting. It's not hard. Everybody can do it. And that is correct. But just like in Ratatouille where they say anybody can cook, but not everybody should cook. Anybody can paint. But it takes skill and time and a little bit of carefulness to be a good painter. First thing is we're going to talk about what our surface is. Today we have several pieces of 3/4 inch plywood. As you can see, this one has already been painted. This one and those three are yet to be painted. To paint them, we're going to need to add primer and then paint. And you're probably thinking to yourself, yep, this is normal. But I want to talk a little bit about this for people who don't have as much experience with the world of paint. Primer. This right here is a gallon of primer. Primer works to seal the grain if you're working with wood. It also gives you a base coat that's an even color. That way whenever you're painting, if you're painting on something that has a very strong color or it has a texture to it, this goes in, flattens out your surface, leaves enough texture for the paint to stick to, and what it's going to do is give you a unified surface so you don't have those color variations. If we took this board right here, which has noticeable grain striations on it, and we painted this with just paint, it would take 3 or 4 coats to be able to cover it completely so that there wouldn't be any difference in color from this light spot to this dark area here. And we don't want that. So when you put on primer, what it does is smooths it out. As you can see from this piece that I've already made, it looks the same. There's some shiny parts right now, mainly because it's still in its drying phase, but we'll get to that later. A big thing that people don't think about is these, your brushes. So, right here we have a chip brush. This is a 3-inch pure bristle brush, so it's natural bristles, probably pig hair, and these are called chip brushes because the handles are made out of chip, as far as I know. They've got a metal ferrule and they've got the bristles. Now the bristles are roughly cut, as you can see. There's a little bit of difference between them, and they're not crazy long lasting. These people use as disposable. You can clean them, but they cost very little. Oh God, you can see my viewfinder in the picture. But, you know, you might not want to. Then we have our handy dandy foam brush. You've seen these from arts and crafts. These are great for single use. The problem with foam brushes is, since it is a big sponge, it absorbs a lot of the material, and sometimes you really have to squeeze it out or keep using more and more and more because it'll soak up into this sponge. But they are nice. They give you a very light texture. Finally, we have a fairly good quality reusable brush. Nice big sturdy wooden handle. It's got a stainless steel, as you can see, ferrule. And then this one has polyester tips that have been cut so that they're all exactly the same length. No longer ones, no shorter ones. Now this is the kind of brush that you pay $20 for and you use over and over and over again. You wash it out, you comb it, you clean it, and then it's ready to go. Now why would you use this brush instead of this $3 one? Well, if you're painting a lot, you're going to be able to use this more often. These you use and you think, it was $1, I'll throw it away. You do that with 20 of these, you just bought this one, and this is going to have a much, much better finish. So for my money, I use these. Now right now, I am using the chip brushes and the foam brushes, but that's mostly because I need to get this project done, and because I'm on a boat, we want to conserve water, and it takes gallons of water sometimes to clean a brush properly, and I'd rather spend a little bit less time and use it quickly. Another reason is that this specific brand, Total Boat, it says that foam brushes are an applicable use. So that's what I'm going with. People, you see them, they dunk their brush in, they slap it around, they get paint everywhere. This drives me crazy. I was taught that when you're using one of these brushes, you don't want the paint to get more than halfway up the bristle to the ferrule. If I ever see people with paint on their ferrule that's not an accidental thumbprint, it makes me livid, because once it gets in there, you can't clean it out, and it's going to harden and it'll separate the bristles, and you're well on your way to ruining a $20 brush. So, even with that, as you can see, I only let it come up halfway. That's the way I was taught. And there's all sorts of tricks for doing this, you know, put a rubber band around it or a piece of tape so you know that's your stopping point. I just try to keep it in my mind. And I've also seen people who take a rubber band, put it around the paint can, and that way when you're brushing, you've got a place where you can run your brush up to get rid of the extra. I don't do that. I tend to do the twirl method. You know, you'll see some people, they dip it in, they scrape it up the side, then it drips down, but then your paint can fills up. What I do, I dip it in just a little bit, let it run down one side, roll, roll, and apply. Now when applying, you want long, smooth strokes. And it's okay, as you can see right there, very good here on the side, not as much. That's fine. That's why we go over it. We're going to be layering over and over again. Always make sure to get the corners as often as you can. Long strokes. The short choppy strokes, you see this line and this line and this line, that's where the brush stopped, and it leaves a big deposit right there, which means if you're doing all these short choppy strokes, you're gonna get marks in your finished product, and you're gonna see that.